Well, friend, this is going to be a little bit of an unusual video. I apologize for the wind, and I'm sure the sound it makes might make it hard for my voice to be understood. We'll see when I play it back, but hopefully I'll speak loud enough and clear enough that you'll understand what I'm saying. I came down to the beach here in Florida, Siesta Key. I was hoping that the water would be brilliant enough and aquamarine enough to be able to make a point that I wanted to make to you. Because something extraordinary happened in the early hours, about 1 o'clock this morning. You see, I'd just been with Rick Osborne in the Transform You class on Sunday, the incredible classes that he's putting on, Transform You. And Judy and I were on that, and it was great. But the problem, I gotta give you a warning, what the problem is with Transform You, and it's one of the big drawbacks, say I tongue-in-cheek, is that when you finish the call, when you finally get up the call, two things are true. Number one, you wish it wasn't over. And number two, you're saying, how soon before I can listen to the replay? And actually, a number three thing is, and this is the kicker, you end up wanting to talk about it for a long time, as is the case with Judy and I last night. We began talking not so much about everything that was taught by Rick, but we were reflecting on excuse me, the great work that God has done in our life and the miracles of her transformation over these last many years since she was born again and since I was, both of us in 1973, different parts of the continent before we ever knew each other. And her stories are amazing, and we're reflecting on the goodness of God. And the problem with that is we end up talking till 1 o'clock in the morning. And the previous night it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. So you join Transform You, be ready for joy-filled, sleepless nights. Now, having said that, I want to make another point here. At 1 o'clock, I turned over and I said, you know what? I got to go get to some sleep here. I didn't hardly get any the night before, and I need to get some sleep. And so I turned over, and there was a little bit of light going on in the bedroom. She wanted to continue reading her Bible. She had a little bit more energy, I think, than I did at 1 a.m., and so she wanted to keep studying and reading, and she got some stuff that she shared with me this morning. But at 1 a.m. I said, okay, I'm going to roll over, and I pulled the pillow over my head just to block out any remaining light that was left. And within 10 seconds, long before I fell asleep, my eyes are closed, the pillow's over my head, it's complete darkness, but suddenly I see it's like you can see through your eyelids. You see as clearly with your eyes closed as with your eyes open. And what I saw, lasting for approximately 1 second, I really don't know how long it was, so startled me that I pulled back, like, whoa. And I'll tell you what it was. It was the face of Jesus, probably 6 inches from my face. And when I saw that, and I saw it so clear, it couldn't be any clearer than if he was actually there. That's how clear it was. But there's 2 things I want to tell you about that. Number one was, that really grabbed me, was his eyes. His eyes were the most piercing blue-green color. In fact, that's why I came down here. I thought maybe I can get some blue-green in the background, but it's not working out so well. I think the water's a little bit stirred up. But it's the most blue-green I'd ever seen. But the clarity of them was incredible. But there was something else. It wasn't just his beard and his hair, darker than I ever thought it was, actually. But the look on his face, it wasn't, hey, Marco, I thought I'd just drop by and say hi. There was an intensity on his face, an intensity on the look of his eyes that only Jesus Christ can actually do. And he did. And he showed himself. And I'm looking at his eyes, and he's looking slightly off to the side. I believe he looked at me, but mostly it seemed like he was just looking just slightly off. I thought, what in the world is he looking at? And it wasn't that he was angry. It wasn't in a playful mood, if you will. There was an intensity of that focus, the sharpness of his eyes. I was thinking about it later. It's kind of like fire and ice. There was no color of fire, but it was it's like his eyes could cut through steel. And we're this close, and he's looking like this. And as I talked to Judy about it this afternoon, I said it's like he's saying, do you see what I see? Are you seeing what I'm looking at? Are you paying attention to that? So Judy and I got to praying a little bit this afternoon, and then I drove down here. It's only a few miles from the house. In case you want to know, I live about $2.1 million from the beach, but it's not that far. And got down here. On the way, I said, Lord, what were you looking at? Because it's obvious to me that you wanted me to see what you see. And he said, say not that do you not say, the scripture, that the harvest is yet 4 months off? It's not 4 months off. Don't say that it's 4 months off. The harvest is now, essentially. The fields are white unto harvest. I said, Lord, if you're telling me that, I'm familiar with the text, but I don't know which of the Gospels it's in. And if I did, which I didn't, I don't know which chapter it is. So where is it? To confirm this, please. He said John chapter 4. So John chapter 4, he said, you can start at verse 13 if you want. So I go to verse 13, and it's where Jesus is replying to the woman at the well, and he's telling her that you can have, I've got water that if you drink my water, you'll never thirst again. But I remember it was the whole chapter, like read the chapter. So I said, okay, what's the rest of the chapter? Well, you know, when you get down to, I don't remember the verse number now, it's in the 30s. There's the text. The whole thing was, see, he said to her, you go tell your husband, right? And she said, well, I don't have one. He said, you're right, you had 5 husbands. Remember the story. Well, from there, she goes into town, and she brings the whole town out. And then his disciples come back from buying some meat at the local 7-Eleven or wherever they were getting it. And they come back and they said, do you need some food? He said, I've got meat to eat you don't know anything of. What he was getting across to me is, Michael, do you not see the harvest? The fields are white. The fields are white. Do you not see the harvest? The fields are absolutely white. And he is focused. He is focused on the harvest. He's looking at the harvest. It was as if there was an anticipation. It's time to put the sickle in. There was an anticipation, like, are you paying attention? Are you looking? Do you see? The gaze on his face was the most serious I've ever seen him. And the purpose of that gaze was the harvest. I'm looking at the harvest. It's white. Will you join me in the harvest? So friend, I submit that to you. Perhaps you would join me in the harvest. Perhaps you join Jesus in the harvest. Because that's what we're called to, in part. And that harvest is not just bringing people in, as we know. It's not just getting people to get their ticket punched to heaven. It's sozo, it's salvation, it's the entire package. Anyway, that happened at 1 o'clock this morning. I'll never forget seeing through my eyelids as though my eyes were wide open. This close, looking right at Jesus. Can you imagine that? Well, that's what happened. Thanks for listening, and God bless.